Alright, so I thought I'd make this video if there's someone that wants to try and save some money and do their own alternator replacement. So this engine's a 2RZE petrol, so 2000 model Hiace long wheelbase. So the first thing you have to do, so the water bottle here, which is normally mounted here in the corner, you just unbolt it. There's like one bolt, and then you disconnect the electrical connector from here. It'll be connected to a wire. You just unplug it. You'll see there's the end of the wire there. So you just unplug that, unbolt it from here, and then you can squeeze it out from behind this. It'll scrape on this, look, it'll gouge this corner a bit, but you don't have to unbolt this thing to get it out. You can squeeze it through, but if that bothers you, then you'll have to loosen this to let it out a bit. But then you just get it, put it over there out the way, and that's fine because it's only connected by this hose. The next thing you have to do is unbolt this power steering reservoir. It's 2 bolts. It's hard in this light, but there's one here and one here. Unbolt those 2, and then it comes out, and you just put it here out of the way. Before you do that, you will have to get this hose off here, off this thing here. It sits on here, so you have to like use pliers and move this back and then pull the hose off. So that hose off, and the 2 mounting bolts. Damn it. And then it will move out of the way somewhere. You just, you can move it around as you need to when you're doing the job. So after that, get rid of that. You're basically making a passageway down here. So there will be a wire that goes through here. You see that gold bolt there that goes into the engine block? There'll be a wire connected to that runs through and comes out here through the middle of this hose thing or under it or something. I found, instead of mucking around with the connector, so that's it there, that black one, instead of trying to unplug that, I found it easier just to unbolt that thing. You just stick a socket on it, unbolt it, pull the whole wire over here and put it there. And then you've got to, your alternator will be sitting there. I've already taken mine out, but there'll be 2 wires on it. One's a 10mm, you undo with a socket and move it off, and the other one's like a plug thing from the factory. It'll have like a little rubber clamp on it. I just cut mine because it was just annoying and hard to get out. So you'll see it. It looks like one of these, but it's made of rubber or something. I just cut it. So you cut that off. And then, so you basically unplug anything connected to the alternator electrically. So it's 2 wires. the one with the 10mm nut on it. You take that off, cut the rubber little clamp thing on it, and that'll let it loose. And then you've got the one that plugs into the back of the alternator. You just have to unplug that. And I've got those. There's my pliers. And then I just tuck them down here. That's them there, just tucked out of the way. Then after that, down here you will see the 12 or 14mm nut. That's the bottom bracket mount, the bottom mount of the alternator. You undo it, loosen it off as much as you can, take the nut off. Then at the front of the alternator you will have this thing. So you'll be looking at, you'll see this, but at the front of the alternator you'll see this. That one's quite hard to get to if you don't move the power steering reservoir out of the way. You won't be able to get a 12mm of anything onto that. So the way I did it was using a 12mm ratchet spanner, which is hiding somewhere. There it is, one of these. So it gave me that angle, plus it's a ratchet, so I could just go like that. It's like quite hard to get your hand down there. Like that's, it's down here when it's on the car, so there's hardly any room. You have to sort of get this out of the way like that and go down there, sort of down in that gap down there sort of thing. It's quite tricky, but it can be done, you know. But with this out of the way, you can get a spanner down here into this gap onto the front nut, and that the front nut loosens the so like this will be screwed into the alternator, this one, and this will be sitting on a bracket that sort of comes up like this. So you have to loosen this so that you can adjust this. So this is the adjuster, and then you just adjust this right off once you've loosened this. And that, then you can move the alternator. Because you've loosened the bottom bolt, you'll be able to loosen the alternator off and then reach down and get the belt off it. You'll be able to get the drive belt off, but you have to like loosen the alternator off, and then you can get it off. Then you can pull it back this way and loosen that right off, and then unscrew this the whole way, and this will just come completely off the alternator. And then you put it here. And first time I did it, I couldn't work out how this went back on, so this time I took it off like this, with like, there's more at the bottom than there is at the top. So I put it like this on this magnetic tray. That's how I took it off, so that's how I'm putting it back on. That's the bottom bolt of the alternator, that's the nut. So this goes through the alternator and has that nut on the back of it, and that's the one I said get down there, undo it. But then you have to get under the car and pull this out from underneath. It's bit tricky, and the fan shroud, when you pull it right out of the alternator towards the front of the car, the fan shroud, this will hit right, the center of the fan shroud goes like exactly, sorry, the fan shroud goes exactly in the center of that head. It's the dumbest design. Well, surely Toyota could have had it so there's a bit of a recess so you can get that bolt out, but you have to like muscle, you know, you've just got to like shove that fan shroud, bend it, then so you can get the bolt out. But you do that from underneath, it can be done. So what that then leaves you with is this gap down here. It's hard to see in the dark, but you'll have like this here, you'll be able to, oh, sorry, you can get it out by and leaving this radiator hose on. You can get it out from this way, from underneath. Oh, it's hard to get this torch to shine. So to the right, let me try and get it. There, that's better. So down there, you can get you get it out of its bracket, and then you pull it backwards with the pulley part facing downwards, and you can maneuver it up through this gap here and get it out through here. You're bumping into everything and squeezing through. It is actually easier to take this hose off, which you have to do anyway. It makes it much easier when you're putting the new one in to have that hose off. So just undo it. I just thought I'd try this time. Oh, you know, well, I won't break the water system, but it was quite hard getting it out. So I'm going to undo that clamp and remove that hose before I put the new one in. It just gives you heaps more room to get down there. See, that hose is basically in the middle of the gap that you have to put the alternator into. You can see down there right behind it, that's the bracket. That's the alternator bracket down there. You might be able to see the bolt hole at the front of it. And there it is at the back. You can see the back bolt hole. Yeah. So then you've got to do it all in reverse. You've got to get the belt on it. You can see the belt hanging off down there, possibly. Can you see it? Yeah. It's a bit of a job, but yeah. Also, when you take this hose off the power steering pump, all the fluid in this will just come out. So you're better off either sucking the fluid out of this reservoir first, or having a container ready to catch all the fluid, because this much fluid and what's in the hose is going to come out when you take it off. That's the main mess that's going to happen. But yeah, that's the gap it has to come up through. So I hope that helps you if someone has to do this job. Like, I'm not a mechanic, but I managed to do it from watching another video where this was part of the job he was doing. So first time took me 11 hours to take it out and put the new one in. This time, so once the alternator bearing was faulty, like it had a very dry sound to it as soon as I started it, and it's just gotten worse over the last month that it's been in there. So I've had to take it out. I took it to the mechanic and he sort of looked at it. Oh yeah. This time getting it out took me about 80 minutes. Last time took me 5 hours. So it's just, the first time's going to be a bit of a nightmare. And you may have to take that yellow oil dipstick out. That can also get in the way. But yeah, taking that water hose off gives you heaps of room. Also with the aftermarket alternator, it may not fit in the bracket. Like the one I got didn't quite fit, and I struggled with it for 2 hours before I was just sitting down next to the van beaten, and I thought, let's see if it's me or if it's this alternator. So I got the old one, and to see if I could put the old one back in, and it went straight back in. So okay, it's this new aftermarket one, slightly bigger. So I had to file it down so it would fit in there. But this time I know the process, so yeah, I will be able to do it much quicker. And there you go.